Alright, we did it. We watched Spider-Man Homecoming, people. Okay, but before we hop into our movie review for Spider-Man Homecoming, we wanted to give a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, Amino Apps.
You may remember Amino from back when we talked about the Final Fantasy Amino, and today, in honor of Spider-Man Homecoming, we're going to be talking about the new and improved Marvel Amino.
The Marvel Amino allows you to share your fandom with Marvel fans from across the world.
And thanks to the app's newly designed interface, there are more ways to engage than ever.
The Marvel Amino offers the same great message board experience along with a brand new newsfeed and even more customizable layouts and features, allowing you to make your Amino truly your own.
You can chat with friends, share your art, gifs, and videos, post blogs and polls, ask questions, enter challenges.
And you can take advantage of the newest features by creating your own quizzes, competing on the leaderboards, sharing your moods and check-ins, and more.
Us, we're movie buffs. We discuss a lot of Marvel films, so we've been having fun with the poll and question features.
You can find us on the Marvel Amino as The Real Rejects, all one word.
Hop on there, take a look at some of our questions, let us know who your favorite on-screen Spider-Man villain has been so far.
Or which villain you're dying to see Spidey go up against in the future.
You can download the Marvel Amino for Android and iPhone using the links in the description box down below, and without further ado, let's get to that review.
I decided to put on the sweater because I could finally fit into it, rock both the Spider-Man attire I have in one video.
And I decided to stay too hot.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Spider-Man!
So this story takes place just a couple of months after the events of Civil War. Peter Parker's now back at home. He wants nothing more than to just be an Avenger.
Yeah.
He's just pining over that.
Take those training wheels off and get to the big show!
But Tony Stark, not just yet. No, no, no. The plot of it really kicks off into Peter Parker trying to find a way where he can prove himself worthy enough to truly be an Avenger.
Yeah, and the way to do that is to go after the Vulture, because nobody
Vulture.
else seems to be too concerned about that.
Yeah, here's what I'll start off by saying. After watching this movie, and if you've seen some of our reactions, I felt like I got pretty good at predicting how the beats of the plot would work. Not exactly how the movie would exactly be told, but a lot of the way the trailers did reveal a little too much for someone like me who watches the trailers. It did play out almost beat for beat in like the main Act 1 beats, Act 2, Act 3 beats, like how I thought it would be. But the movie is more than just that. What makes this film really great and special is the details of the way every one of the scenes are executed, the little nuances throughout.
See, I was lucky enough that I forgot most of the stuff I saw from the
You
trailer.
are lucky.
The plot points aren't necessarily revolutionary. I kind of felt the same way about Wonder Woman, whereas there's some things that are pretty consistent with superhero formula in the plot, but it's in the nuances and the tone and the details and the cast.
Style.
Yeah, the style. It's the life they imbue it with, because even if there are plot points you're expecting, for me they almost never looked like I was expecting or unfolded the way I was expecting. Even though the story's headed in that direction, different things were happening than I was expecting.
Yeah, exactly. What I really appreciate about this, I feel like we're in a day and age where a lot of directors say, here's the film they want to make, and then you see it and you're like, this ain't what you set out to do. And here, before filming even began, we heard director John Watts and people at Marvel saying that they wanted this film to be a real high school movie of Peter Parker trying to balance his high school life and be Spider-Man at the same time. I was really surprised by just how well this film did that. It really does feel like the tone of it is strongly high school inspired. And that's part of the fun of it. That's part of what makes it so enticing. I know Amazing Spider-Man, they said that's what they wanted to do, and boy, did they can that pretty fast.
I feel like this one has easily the best balance of Peter's life feels like a whole thing in this movie. It's like, it's high school life, and that's happening while superhero life is also happening. Yeah. That makes for a really nice tone, because I think also if you go look at the Vulture side of the scale, he's in like a heist movie, just like a heightened heist movie. Yeah. And they both join on the sci-fi level that the superhero story is in.
That's what I found interesting about it, because the one thing the trailers did a good job of not revealing to you is how the Vulture is really handled in this movie.
Yeah, man.
Adrian Toomes, Michael Keaton as Adrian Toomes.
Toomes.
Did I say Tomes?
Tomes.
I was thinking of the spelling.
Big book.
Michael Keaton is Adrian Toomes. What was so fascinating to me about this movie is he's treated more like the main supporting character, the main second plot, as opposed to the villain, just the villain, just the antagonist, because he's so much more than that and so much more layered. I'm happy that like first Spider-Man film in the MCU, this is easily one of the best villains they've ever gotten.
Definitely, I think this one will definitely be memorable because that's the thing. Yeah, is I was really happy that they didn't just use him to show up and remind you that he's bad and we gotta stop him. They actually spent time showing you at least a little bit about what this guy's motivation is, what his life is like, what he's doing this for.
You actually completely get where he's coming from. Yeah. In a relatable way for the average American, at least. You know?
Every turn with that character, he feels like a human being. He feels like an actual guy.
Yeah.
You know?
And the trailers, they took moments that made it look like, he's chewing up the scenery.
He's gonna be a Marvel villain again.
Yeah, the trailers made it look that way, but no, he was a really nice surprise. He's a very three-dimensional human character.
And it's not the same, humanity sucks and either isn't bowing to me or doesn't deserve to live, I'm gonna wipe them all out.
Yeah, he's not just this plain, sinister, evil dude. Michael Keaton did a really, really good job with that.
Yeah. And his whole crew, like him and his crew, I thought they had a really good dynamic together and everything. And you got the sense for their world and their operation, which I thought was great.
It's really a Peter Parker film.
Yeah.
And Tom Holland, before we go into like what makes this Peter Parker so great in this, the biggest reason is Tom Holland, honestly.
Yeah, he brings a whole lot to Peter Parker, and he puts his own stamp on it, for sure. Like,
there's a very distinct difference. To me, I don't want to rank these movies right now, like which is the best Spider-Man. I don't want to do that.
That takes time.
That takes time. You gotta let impact settle in and see how I feel. I'll say how I feel over time. And
years even.
Maybe. Tom Holland was absolutely fantastic in this. He makes this film really what it is, I feel.
Yeah, he is the heart of this movie.
He's the heart. He carries this whole film.
Yeah.
He's funny. He's charming. He has that awkwardness about him. He's anxious at the same time.
He's also really sincere.
He's super sincere. That's like the best word to describe it. He's super sincere the entire time. I knew he did a great job in Civil War, but seeing him as a whole character, it got me excited to see him again. It was one of the rare Marvel films where I'm like, I can't wait to see Tom Holland's Peter Parker again.
Well, and one of the best ways to do that is the way they kick off this movie by showing you Peter's perspective on the Civil War events. And that's stuff you can see online, but that right off the bat sort of shows you like, oh yeah, this is very much a Peter Parker movie, and Peter Parker's world is way different, you know?
Yeah, because in this movie, he's this 15-year-old high school kid who really wants to be an adult. And
he's in a hurry to grow up.
That is so relatable, because what high school kid usually doesn't feel that way?
Yeah.
What high school kid's like, I'm just a kid, I don't care. You know, most high school kids that I've met, and even when I was at that age, you just wanted to be an adult already. You just wanted to be treated like an adult and not treated like a kid.
You're a kid.
Yeah, you get sick of that. That movie really captures that spirit because it does such a great job of showing like what his status is in school. He's known as this really smart dude. He's on the academic decathlon team, and people on the decathlon team really think he's the smartest guy in the group. So he has this very specific high school life. He's got his the single mom or the single Aunt May.
Yeah. Marissa Tomei.
Yeah, you got single Aunt May there. And then he has a Spider-Man life. But what the film does such a magical job at doing is this film is so heavy on its tone and consequences that the consequences are not exactly danger. But the idea of being in this kid's shoes, you can easily figure out and understand what he is feeling when he has to deal with like lies and has to deal with balancing this out, or even social anxiety issues like going to a high school party. So that was all so well done.
Well, and of all the Spider-Man movies, I feel like this one has the best balance for me of actually having stakes in the life of Peter Parker, because like the story that's unfolding in the background, it's like trouble kind of follows him through high school, and I didn't even realize this till now, but he is the really smart kid who to everybody around is getting into trouble and having trouble applying himself. He's that guy in high school that we've all known, except he's got a much different hobby.
Yeah.
You know, and it feels like what a high schooler would do if given, you know, this special suit and these special powers. And that's integral to what the arc of the whole movie is and what Peter Parker has to go through, you know? And you brought up that point about it being an origin tale, not the here Uncle Ben just died origin tale, it's not getting the powers origin tale.
Yeah, it's not the origin tale of him getting the powers and him becoming Spider-Man. This is really, in some ways it does feel like an origin tale of him learning how to be Spider-Man and what role he should serve as Spider-Man, which is great too in terms of him being an MCU addition.
Yeah.
Because you're also learning what his role is in the MCU now. Yeah, it's very much aware this is in the Avengers universe. The film is very much lets it be known. But it also feels like a smaller story within the Avengers world.
And there is crossover stuff, but even to me, and I usually get frustrated by that, but I thought it was all the right size and it was all appropriately, at least off to the side. It never took over the movie. And the thing is, I think it's a great point about the origin story is, yeah, it's about him becoming a mature person and also learning about what the stakes really are. Because when the movie starts out and the scenes from Civil War, he's having a great time. And this movie is sort of about how not great of a time it can be if you're not being smart about it. You know, so it's a pretty sophisticated lesson for the third time we're doing this.
You think about what a high school kid would already worry about. You think about what a high school kid, the social situations, the living up to academia situations he would already have on his plate. And the weight it would play. Like, when you watch just those good high school movies and you see them get into a situation, you're like, oh, that's bad. You feel that, but a little bit, but a lot worse because, you know, it's like, oh, but he has to be Spider-Man too.
Peter Parker has kind of a sad life in this movie because just he being Spider-Man just keeps getting in the way, man. Puberty's hard.
And on top of it being a high school movie, it doesn't do the Amazing Spider-Man route of let's go dark teen angst high school.
Make this his destiny, like tied into his father.
It's a really funny film. Easily the funniest Spider-Man of them all.
And it's arguably the most fun throughout without getting too intense.
Yeah, without comparing too much to prior Spider-Man films, because it's not on the epic scale that I felt Sam Raimi's films were, the ones the Amazing Spider-Mans were trying to achieve. The whole tone of it was fun. Like, comedy was probably one of the back genres of it, as a lot of Marvel films kind of are with their screenplays.
And even more naturally most of the time than Ant-Man.
Yeah.
You know?
Because these characters are funny. Like, there's other characters in here that are really good. I really enjoyed Ned, Jacob Batalon. I've had friends like that in the past, actually, who are just, you know, they're super nerdy. They're the overweight one, like the big. They're like the big one. But they're lovable and sweet. And they say funny random shit. I really enjoyed his performance. He's not exactly like multi-layered, but he's a great character who asks questions to Peter Parker that you would probably ask if you found out your best friend was Spider-Man. He treats him in a way that it's like, that's how I would probably treat my friend if I found out he was Spider-Man.
Dude, you gotta take advantage of this. Like, he is such a great, just an effortless buddy. That was one of the most natural relationships, I think, in this movie, is they really do just feel like buds. And it's a real joy when they're on screen together, and the movie takes time for all that. Like, the movie takes time to allow people to just spend time with each other. Because even, I was noticing the scenes with Aunt May, too, it's like, most of those scenes are just what their life is like.
I would have liked a little bit more on Aunt May, to be honest.
True that.
There was something that was kind of missing for me there. I'm like, okay, you got Marissa Tomei in here. She's young, hot Aunt May, and that's a joke.
Singles, she's like really having to worry. She's like, you know.
And the film's not an Aunt May movie, and the film's already 2 hours and 13 minutes. I get if you felt like you had to maybe cut out some Aunt May stuff you wanted to explore.
I could have used maybe one scene where she really empowers him, or she gets a big moment.
And you get like a really definitive version of what makes this Aunt May so specifically different. It's like, I know her job's to worry about Peter. That's the Aunt May role. You worry about what Peter's going through. And the dynamics and interaction play out differently than any other Spider-Man film. But there was still something missing for me.
I didn't feel like she got to fully put her stamp on it. I thought all of her scenes were good. I liked the smaller moments we got with them, because Peter's not home a lot. I thought the movie could have done her a solid by giving her one great scene. You know?
And Zendaya's in this movie, and there's a lot of talk about her. When she was announced to be in it, plays this character named Michelle, and she's not really in the movie that much. There's all this like hype surrounding her character.
Yeah, they made a huge deal, and I thought, I thought Zendaya was good, and
she's good. Yeah, she is good.
She's like Daria.
She's that funny. She's like the basket case kind of. A little bit. Yeah, you know, the girl who acts like she doesn't care but does. The girl who acts like she doesn't belong but she wants to fit in.
She's usually deadpan. She's got a sarcastic quip at the ready.
And she's funny.
Times.
She's funny. Weirdly, you don't really get a lot of scenes with her and Peter Parker.
I thought she was gonna be like the romantic lead.
And that's a totally different woman for that. It's a totally different character.
Named Liz.
Who does a really good job in the film, too.
Yeah.
All the kids do a great job. They all felt like real kids. They felt like real high. And Tom Holland's like 21 or something, and he felt like a real kid. One of the best touches of this film I love are like the fun and game section when it kind of feels semi-spoof of Spider-Man. Like it's pretty self-aware of things that we've wondered about Spider-Man. Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And so the film takes time to acknowledge it and make fun of it.
I feel like Marvel takes a really good advantage out of people learning. And some of the fun and games involve Spider-Man learning about his abilities in a way we haven't seen before. And those are fun because he's still a kid trying to get the hang of this.
Yeah.
You know? And that creates a lot of humor because everybody looks a little silly the first time they try something out.
Yeah, like the scene where he first puts on his suit is pretty. It's cool. It's funny, and how they do it. You know, it's like, how does he get changed when he's on? He just has to do it right after school, but he can't go home and change. How does he shoot a web? What does he do with the webs if he has nowhere to swing? You know.
Yeah. This is his after-school sports practice, basically.
Yeah, and how to handle chasing down a car properly, and all these. Yeah, so it's really about him learning how to be Spider-Man, and that's part of the big joy of this film. I guess the best way to really summarize what makes this Spider-Man so unique and so essential, and arguably the best Spider-Man portrayal in terms of, maybe not the whole movie. I feel like a lot of people might be able to get on board with the best Spider-Man portrayal. You know, the quote of Spider-Man, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And this movie really does feel like that. It feels like your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. They have scenes, that one specific scene that's paid straight up tribute to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That
in an actual neighborhood.
In an actual neighborhood. Like, oh yeah,
like
he's going through neighborhoods, you know?
Because you think in the previous Spider-Man movies, you mostly just see him in the city or in industrial parts of town. And this is like, you do see that, but you also see upstate, you also see just neighborhoods, you also see, just under overpasses and stuff. Like, you get a lot of geography, and that helps, you know? And also the scale of the crime, too. You know?
Absolutely. We haven't talked about any of these, actually, but the action sequences are... They're good. There was no action scene in this movie. I guess that's probably what the letdown was. And it sucks because it's only from preconceived notion and prior viewing to former Spider-Man movies. I didn't ever once think the action... It's like when you see Spider-Man doing Spider-Man stuff, it looks cool. It does. It always looks cool. But it doesn't ever feel like, oh yeah, that action scene was something, you know? And I feel like Spider-Man 1 has that. I feel like Spider-Man 2 definitely has that. There's cool set pieces. That's what I mean. It's cool. It's not bad. I don't find it as... There's nothing that really mesmerized me.
See, from where I'm sitting right now, I liked the size of it. I agree with you, but at the same time, I like the size of the action. And part of the point of all of the action is that Peter is pretty good at this, but he's not great at this yet. And so all the action scenes engaged me because they felt like, oh, dude, this dude's really trying. And also, in a number of them, you get to see new abilities, new physical abilities that we haven't yet seen used. So those things made them rewarding to me. Because we've seen epic Spider-Man and we've seen dark, gritty Spider-Man. And this one, I thought the action scenes were big enough and the right size for this movie.
There's stuff to love about it, absolutely. And the thing is, if I didn't see these other Spider-Man films, I probably would have just loved the shit out of these action scenes. But it's not necessary for this film. That's the thing.
That's my point.
It's not necessary for it. So, as much as I want to say it because it's Spider-Man, it's just completely not necessary to go that awesome bananas with it.
Well, yeah, it's on the scale of this Spider-Man, and it's in the size of his world, because I feel like the epic, the harrowing battles that we see in like Spider-Man 2, I feel like those will happen later in his life. I appreciated that about this movie, is that the action was on the level of this movie, and it matched, and that made it distinct to me in that way, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with that.
And during the action, I was always aware of the stakes, both for Spider-Man, fighting, and what's going on off screen, because almost every action scene involves him leaving life and screwing up life to go do this, So I was never not aware of that, and so those enhance the action for me personally.
I guess one of the last things to touch on, the usage of Tony Stark in this film. Now, this film is nowhere near being Iron Man 4, like everyone worried about, or Iron Man 3.5. People thought, like, there's going to be overload Iron Man. He's not. It was used just right. The position his role serves in terms of how it affects Peter Parker and the relationship, that was all very effective and necessary to this plot, and I thought it was used wonderfully.
Even down to the physical choice that, like, Tony was almost never anywhere near him half the time.
The thing is, though, is some of the scenes, it was cleared up in the credits. Because when I watched a couple scenes, especially that scene where, he's, I don't want to give it away because you just haven't seen the trailer, but there's one specific scene where they're talking on a ferry, and I remember watching that scene going, why is this movie being edited like like as if he's not on the set. I kept thinking,
Why is Tony
that,
being shot against a green screen, but Tom Holland is on location?
Like whenever you saw the back of his head, I'm like, that doesn't look like it.
Did he just deliver those lines poorly, or was he not there for
Yeah, I'm like, what was up? That was the only time I was questioning the editing of the movie. And then when you see the credits, it says Tony's double. And then you said it, and I was like, oh, that explains it.
Yeah, there's at least one scene where if you look, it's like every time they cut to Tony, it's upward, and all you see is sky and buildings, and then they cut back to Tom Holland, it's like there's the set, and there's like Tony's in frame, and then like when he turns his head just enough, they cut away before you can tell what his face looks like, and I was like, yeah,
because there's two specific scenes with him where I was like, that looks really strange.
I was like, this is noticeable somehow. Why?
We're not a big fan of rating systems. We give consensus on things. Here's my consensus. Tom Holland's Peter Parker / Spider-Man is the best interpretation.
Most well-rounded, for sure.
Whoa, my consensus. Right. You do yours after. What are you going to interrupt my Rotten Tomatoes consensus?
Oh, is this like all one score and that's what it's... That's your...
This is my stamp.
This is my paragraph
rating. This is what's going to go on the freaking poster. Right?
I'm just going to continue the review and call that a rating.
This is the best Peter Parker Spider-Man that we've ever gotten for the big screen. And my personal third favorite, I would say. So it's a great film. It's a fantastic... This is the amazing. I didn't do a good job on this consensus. This is an amazing.
Okay, we'll figure it out someday.
This should be called the Amazing Spider-Man because this one is amazing.
Yeah. I agree with you. Yeah, I think this should be called the Amazing Spider-Man. I think it's the most well-rounded Spider-Man we've gotten. Even like, and there are things I appreciate about all of them, but I think Tom Holland is the most well-rounded Spider-Man. I thought it was dazzling just to go back to a fun movie with real-life stakes. You know, that was just the right size. It kind of satisfied me in most every way. I get kind of worn out on these movies, and it definitely satisfied me.
We're going to shoot a spoiler review for this film with Andrew from the Movie Source channel, and he's a huge Spider-Man fan. He kept every 20 minutes, a little fact. A little fact.
This guy.
A little fact. This
Easter
guy.
egg
I know who this guy is. I know who he really is. Yeah. So yeah, some things we'll talk about in the spoiler review that are not really shown in the trailer. Some additions to the Spider-Man suit that really breathe new life into it. That's a little hint right there. New life into it.
New life.
You'll see. You know, if you have to see the movie, you know what we mean by that. And also, there's plenty of fun Easter eggs throughout. Teases for other characters that will come into the Spider-Man universe, like they did with Dr. Connor and the Sam Raimi trilogy.
Oh, my man Dylan Baker never got to do it. I'm still pissed off about that.
There's actually a pretty good amount of twists and reveals here.
Yeah.
Some that are very effective. Well, there's one specific twist. I've heard people say there's a good twist in this film. That kind of bothers me when I hear that. Yeah. Because I'm like, well, now I'm expecting a twist.
And you told me what you thought it would be when we were parking.
Well, that was one of the twists.
Fair enough, but it wasn't. I don't think it was the twist.
It wasn't the twist. That was more of a reveal. Yeah. But the twist, that twist was hyped up for me, and then when it happened, I was like, oh my god, I did not see that coming.
Not at all.
I'm gonna do the same to all you guys right now. Yeah.
So have fun with that.
Yeah, and there's other characters in there to touch on as well. There's plenty of other characters that we could talk about, but we'll save that all for the spoiler review.
Yeah. The spoiler review is mostly about Flash
It's going to be a lot shorter than this non-spoiler review. All right, guys. Well, thanks if you stuck around this long. Really appreciate it. Hey, do us a favor. Like and share this video. Subscribe to The Real Rejects and click that notification bell. You can follow this guy at John Humphrey on Twitter and Instagram, social media manager of Blumhouse. Check out all our exclusive perks, our awesome rewards. We got plenty of fun goodies over at Patreon, so go make sure to check it out. And last but not least, check out the Marvel Amino app. It's actually really freaking cool.
Yeah, and actually, if you want an unadulterated stream for our Marvel-related content, that's a great place to go look for that, because we're going to start posting all our Marvel stuff on there.
Yeah. And now I'm going to loan John my sweater to do the thumbnail.